I have done a review for Asus ROG Ally some time ago, and for that time it seemed like a perfect piece of gaming handheld, much better than a Steam Deck. But a couple of months showed me that it is not true. So right now let's talk about flaws of Asus ROG Ally. So first of all, talking about ROG Ally, it is amazing handheld as it seemed before, as it seemed out of the box, but the number of flaws is simply awful. The thing is that first of all, the problem with SD card slot. Out of the box there was no problems with SD cards, but I have bought myself an SD card slot from Samsung for 512 gigabytes. But what it has done with my SD card, it has simply burned out my card. So right now I cannot enter any information I'd like on this SD card because it doesn't recognize it neither by my PC nor by my camera nor by my any other device which supports SD cards. So this piece of plastic is simply useless. Talking next about the SD card slot. SD card slot is simply burned out in my ROG Ally, as I said before, and the thing is that it doesn't recognize any SD cards. I have lots of them, and the thing is that right now this handheld doesn't support any SD cards, because the thing is that it is quite popular problem. I have written to Asus support and all they have me recommended, as funny as it may sound, is to get myself something like that. This is SD card to USB Type-C, to enter my SD card here and to play games and to download games on ROG Ally through my USB Type-C port. And as you can see, it is pretty funny thing, and it's pretty useless as well, because I have paid lots of money, almost 1000 bucks, just to play like that. I suppose that that's not how they do things. Of course, Asus has told us that they will fix this with some software updates. I have done completely all of them, any updates. I have rebooted Windows several times. I have also installed countless of updates to my ROG Ally, but still it doesn't work as it intended to, because it doesn't recognize any SD cards, and as I said before, my SD card, which I have bought for 80 bucks, is pretty much burned out. The next thing which has shown up is that one of the bumpers, the bumper right one, it doesn't have the same altitude as it should have. So what it means that you have to download countless and countless of software updates through, for example, Steam, if you play in Steam, just in order to have a working trigger. And the thing is with the trigger that it has lower altitude, and you can see it in your programming software. So that's why you have to balance it in another way. You have balanced it manually, and it's not the thing which I would like to do on a console, which costs a lot. So, and the next flaw which I have found on this device is that battery life is simply horrible. It's horrendous, because the thing is that it runs Windows. So Windows takes lots of battery power, and it doesn't have such function as, for example, Steam Deck, where you can simply put the game to sleep and straight after that you can just, in a couple of seconds, you can start the game, and so you can continue playing where you simply stayed. Because right over here it goes to the sleep mode or the hibernate mode, and straight after that it takes almost a minute to go live. And also, talking about Windows, the Windows is pretty amazing if you would like to play, for example, on Xbox Game Pass, or to play some games from Epic Game Store, because obviously it is a gaming PC in simply handheld body. But the thing here is that despite the fact that it should be a gaming handheld and it should hold power for more than 1 hour, it does not do that. Now the thing is that the battery life on this device, and even though I have turned off my RGB sticks, and even though I have turned my ROG Ally from 1080p screen to 720 screen and reduced the refresh rate from 120 to 60 Hz, even though in most games it holds something around 1 hour if we're talking about AAA games. Comparing that to the Steam Deck, which holds in the same Witcher 3 1 hour and a half or 2 hours. So the thing here is that the battery life for this handheld is not what it's meant to be, because it won't survive any flight, it won't survive you playing somewhere on the go, because the Windows simply eats lots of battery, because Windows was not optimized for this device. And because Windows, it is a desktop system and doesn't have any type of portable gaming solution. And that's why I suppose we'll have to wait a couple of years in order to receive something adequate from the Windows to the handheld systems. And of course, talking about the ROG Ally, another flaw, these are these bumpers. These bumpers, even despite the fact that it seemed pretty easy to customize, it is simply horrible. I don't use them at all, even though I would like to, because the thing is that these triggers work or doesn't work as they like. So that's why you have lots of flaws, lots of problems with this device. And another flaw, as you can tell, it is the color. Even though it looks pretty decent, it looks pretty nice with the white color, all of everything, it collects dust simply enormously. The thing here is that it has grip texture, the gripped plastic texture, and this texture collects lots of dust from your hands and lots of debris from your hands. And it makes it very awfully difficult to clean. So what I can tell about this device after a couple of months, I can tell do not buy it, because the thing here is that this device is simply Windows PC, and I can tell you that similar devices as INL, for example, or any other device which has Windows on board, it will not work as intended to, because the thing here is that if we're talking about Steam Deck, the Steam Deck has been made by professionals. It was made for people, it has cut corners everywhere they could, so they had lower resolution screen, 60 Hz, because obviously handheld cannot go any more, because obviously you'll need pretty decent hardware on your PC to run 120 Hz in any game, but if we're talking about handheld, it can support only mobile solutions. So in the case if you would like to play the same Call of Duty Battlefield or anywhere where 120 Hz would be decent, it will not work as intended to, and it will simply draw your battery. Also talking about the resolution here is 1080p, and because of 1080p it simply eats your battery like enormously. And of course, if you would like to get some decent frame rate, you would have to reduce the frame rate, you would have to reduce the resolution to 720p, and the picture would look simply awful because it's not a native resolution for this device. Comparing with the same Steam Deck where 800 pixels is a native resolution, the native resolution looks much better. And of course, recently it was announced that Steam Deck has gone OLED. So I can tell that OLED screen would look much better, even though it would be only 800 pixels. Because right over here, the screen is bright, the screen is good, the touch screen is good, and of course, as you can hear right now, one of the flaws there are just some screw which has gone rogue, because I haven't dropped this console. This console was always in the case, it hasn't been dropped like at all. But even despite that, I have some loosened screw which just tells about the quality of this device. And of course, let's not forget the issue with like that in a Steam Deck. So the thing here is that the device as Asus ROG Ally was created by Market. It was created by Marketologs, so I can tell you that this device wasn't created by professionals, because Steam Deck is created by professionals. They have cut corners wherever they could, they have included what is needed to be included, and not some gimmicks like here with 1080p screen and 120 Hz. And of course, one of the issues is when you connect this deck to your power in order to charge, it will simply blink with these RGB sticks all of the time. It will blink even though you have disabled the RGB all along. So that's why it makes this console pretty awful if you would like to play in your bed or before your bed, before going to bed. And so that's why it will wake you all of the time. So that's why you would have some dedicated space outside your bedroom in order to play this device and in order to charge this device. Of course, if we're talking about playing on power is very decent, because it goes to 30 watts, and because of that, the power allows you to play pretty decent frame rate with pretty decent graphics. But besides this chip, this device is pretty horrible. And that's one of the reasons why I'm selling it, because this device is simply a joke. Because despite the fact that they tried their best to make a Steam Deck killer, they didn't succeed, the same as For example, Lenovo Legion, which they have created also another handheld which looks similar like Switch, but over there they have even more bigger screen with even more greater resolution, like 1600 pixels, and because of that the battery power will be thrown even worse. And of course, if we're talking about battery power, let's not forget that the battery power and the system was optimized for SteamOS because it runs Linux and because it has much less options available. Of course, much less options, it means that you will have much less opportunities, but if you buy a device which is meant for gaming, only for gaming, then the Steam Deck is much better choice and it costs much less. And right now, if we're talking about OLED version with 1TB of SSD, it will even 1TB of SSD with OLED screen and a little bit better processor on a Steam Deck, it will be much wiser choice than Asus ROG Ally, because it will hold much better battery, it will give you almost the same type of experience if we're talking about games, because the processor it is a little bit better than the previous generation of Steam Deck, and of course it will not have such flaws as the Asus ROG Ally. So summarizing all together, do not buy Asus ROG Ally because it has lots of problems and it will be simply awful experience for you if you would like just something plug and play or take it with you and play on the road, because as I said before, battery is a joke, you will have lots of flaws, and the SD card which is located near the exhaust of the CPU cooler is simply an awful choice, because they could have entered that the same as an Steam Deck over here, and so the problem will not exist all along. So because it is not software problems, it is hardware problems. And the hardware problems with Asus ROG Ally, even though quite famous name, is simply awful. So that's it for me. See you next time.